everyone! My name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome to the final day of Jennsmas. We made it! We made it to the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022, and I cannot believe we are already here. Last day of Jennsmas. And you know what that means? It's time to talk about my 2022 reading goals and writing goals. This year, I'm putting it all into one big video because I want to keep my goals a little bit more broad this year with regards to my writing, because 2021 was a year of me missing deadline after deadline after deadline and just blowing my goals out of the water and just like totally throwing them out. That's okay though, because sometimes life is just like that. First and foremost, we're going to talk about my reading goals for 2022. So I am, above all else, keeping my reading goal at reading 100 books in a year, even though for the past 2 years I have set at 100 and read more than 100. I like that number because to me it's feasible in my lifestyle, and I do read so much and constantly. So it is something that I know I can achieve. And even though I'm reading upwards of 130, 140 books a year, I like the safety zone of having to reach only 100 books. It's still a lot of books. Of having to reach 100 books if life throws a curveball my way, as it kind of did in the last half of 2021, or the last quarter, I should say, with my mental health declining, work starting back up again, and moving to my own place. So life has been weird in 2021, and I'm hoping that 2022 kind of levels out a little bit. So yes, I'm keeping my reading goal at 100 books, and I also have the same goal as last year, is trying to shrink down my physical TBR. My physical TBR last year was 172 physical books, but because of the amount of unhauls that I did throughout the year and my move, the amount of physical books that I have on my physical TBR is down to 114 books. So much more feasible number, in my opinion, to get through, and I would like to shrink that below 100 books this year. And that sounds easy. I just have to make sure that I implement my next goal, which is buy less books. I don't have any room on my shelves anymore for more books. Like, I don't have any more room in this small little place of mine. So my one goal that I'm going to try and desperately stick to is to buy less books and use my local library more. Because for the first time in like over a decade, I can actually go use a library now. It's been about 6 years since I couldn't use a library, but it's been probably 15 years since I've been to a public library. I did use my school library all the time in high school, but when I was living out of the city, we didn't have access to a library out there, which doesn't mean I couldn't have had access to a library. It just meant that I would have to pay $150 annually for a library card to make up for the fact that I don't live in the city limits and I'm not paying taxes to the city. But now that I live back in the city, I have a library nice and close by. So as soon as I can, and as soon as I have the time, I'm gonna go out and get myself a library card, which I am so excited to do, and I'm going to use my library religiously. They're gonna get so sick of me, and it's gonna be so good. I am so prepared. I'm so ready. Those are my 3 probably biggest goals of like number wise that I'm dealing with, like quantity wise, but quality and like specifically what the books are wise. My biggest goal is read more diversely. So this year, if you missed my stats video, I really shit the bed with reading BIPOC authors this year. I really hate that I did. So 2022, I'm making an even bigger point to fill my TBR with BIPOC authors. And on top of that, I also want to continue filling my TBR with Two-Spirit LGBTQIA+ representation, but I also want to pay attention to the authors that I'm supporting, and I want to support specifically queer authors. If they are out, of course. If they are writing queer narratives and are not out themselves, then I will still support them, because if the book sounds interesting, I do want to read it. On top of those two, I also want to read more diversely with disability rep, because that has been a category in my life and in my reading that I have just not paid attention to whatsoever. I think I read one book this year that was written by a disabled author and had disability rep in it. So next year, I am going to focus on really trying to find these stories that aren't the most popular books out there, because the most popular books are following the stereotypical, patriarchal, heteronormative, whatever word you want to call it, agenda, and it's what is like socially, like that's what becomes popular, right? Those kind of books, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to just dig my teeth into the literary world and really find those books that need their stories told and need their stories shared. Because I say all this and I want to read more diversely because I find that those stories are the most interesting stories to read because they are filled with life and what is out there today and reflected in our society. So why not read books with that represented in them? And so yeah, that's basically the biggest goal that I have for my reading, is to read more diversely, not just in authors of color or queer authors, but also disabled authors. I also want to keep exploring the sci-fi genre because, as you guys know, this year was my year to really explore the sci-fi genre, and I absolutely love it so far. So that's my goal, is to keep exploring sci-fi and, of course, keep adoring my fantasy reads, and to also read more out of my comfort zone. I did implement a series on my channel, which is Reading Out of My Comfort Zone. That's what the videos are called, and that's how I got into sci-fi this year. That was my first video of the year of like that kind of like testing out these different reading vlog type things. And so I did one for sci-fi, and I also did one for thrillers, mysteries, and horrors. So I do want to keep exploring the sci-fi genre and potentially the thriller genre. I think I now know what kind of vibe I want with my thrillers, so I'm going to keep doing that. But I do want to also implement other genres and subgenres that I'm not as versed in or comfortable with, and I want to read in those genres, thus to diversify my reading even more. And that's not necessarily to say that I want to get away from fantasy. Fantasy is my favorite thing ever and will forever be. But I do also believe that it is incredibly beneficial to a person, a writer, a reader of any kind, to get out of that normal genre and to test the waters other places to see how wonderful those stories are as well. Those are basically my reading goals of 2022. Not very specific, but also very, very specific in different ways. And I'm so excited to just read all of the good books in 2022 and to turn around the kind of shitty reading year I had in 2021. It wasn't like an overwhelmingly wonderful reading year. I don't know. It just felt lackluster to me compared to 2022, where I found so many new books that were just favorites of all time for me. So 2022 is going to be another good reading year. I can kind of feel it. All right, let's move on to my writing goals of 2022. So as I mentioned, I'm being more vague with my writing goals, except for Project Dream. So Project Dream is my goal for 2022. So number one, I'm going to be querying Project Dream. I meant to this year, but with the move and the fact that it was December by the time I had a finished draft and was able to have the time to even think about querying with everything that was going on with my move and all of that, it's December. The publishing houses are now officially closed for the holidays. So I just can't for the rest of this year. My goal is to start off the year strong and get into the querying process the beginning of the year, early January. That's a goal. And then when that's on query, I want to look back at what I have for Project Dream Book 2, and I want to like kind of re-examine the story for that one and write that one again and start like bringing that one up to a polish and having that story completed. And I also want to do that with Project Dream Book 3. I want to write it, at least a fast draft, and have the story there. And alongside those two, I want to like map out the whole series so that I know how many books I'm going for, what's the full overarching story plan, everything that goes along with it. And I want to kind of have a idea of where the final book will go in that series, because I'm planning on it being a 4-book series. So we shall see. But that is my big plan with Project Dream, is to have the whole series plotted, have book 2 being into the editing stage, like actually figure out the story and like push it into a stage that is kind of where Project Dream Book 1 is, and get book 3 into the planning stage as well. So just like moving on with this story and getting it under my belt, as well at the same time as querying book 1 to see if it's even a thing that people want in the world. So it's gonna be a scary year, but that's gonna be okay, because I'm excited to finally get my foot into the querying door, I guess. and try and get my foot into the publishing door eventually. But we shall see how that goes. And then other than that, my very, very vague goals are to explore more of the stories I have in my head. So that could be Project Dragon, that could be Project Calypso, that could be I have a YA project that I have in the back of my head. I have a project that's based off of a song that I heard that's in the back of my head. So I have so many projects that are just nest eggs of ideas that need to be really fleshed out and brought to life. And I want to be able to examine them with no pressure to examine them. I just want to find the love of writing again, which brings me to the next one, which is trying to implement a better writing routine so that I don't go months super hard writing and then months where I'm just totally burnt out and don't write because I have no inspiration. And that brings me to my third goal, which is try and find my well of inspiration again, because it's gone. 2021 kind of ruined it for me. So I need to refill that, re-find my love of writing again, and just explore stories that make me happy and really find that like zest for writing that I'm missing again. I really hope I can do that in 2022. And hopefully in 2022, these are hopes and dreams, not necessarily goals, but they're hopes and dreams that could become goals. I will be into the publishing world and will actually be looking at possibly publishing a book, not in 2022, but in the following years. That would be incredible if we could get there. And as for now, that is basically it for my writing goals, my guys. My writing and reading goals. They're very simple and straightforward and vague, but in the best way, I think, because those are the kind of goals that you can stick to, because there's many ways to complete those goals, right? So besides these strict goals that I have for myself for Project Dream, really everything else just kind of falls into place. Hopefully will fall into place. I have no strict deadlines for myself with anything except for the querying. I would really like to have that in motion by the end of January. But other than that, everything is just kind of open. And maybe as the year goes on, I will do updates I will do my like writing journal updates where I update you as to what my writing process is doing, how my goals are changing and shifting, because they always do that. That's the nature of goals and dreams, is they shift and change. So I will keep you guys updated, of course, about that. And if you guys have any specific video ideas that you want to see from me, writing or readerly, please let me know down below. Like with my writing vlogs, I want to do more writing vlogs and like experimental vlogs maybe, and like I don't really want to say like how I write vlogs, because I've done a few of those and I don't know if I'm the qualified to talk about that kind of stuff, but we'll see. If you guys have any specific ideas that you want me to do in 2022, please let me know. If you want to see more reading out of my comfort zone videos, if you want to see more reading BookTube's favorite videos, if you have a specific person you want to see, let me know down below what you want to see from me. Or if you want to see more of something that I already do on my channel, let me know, because I am open to everything that you guys ask from me. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for getting to the end of Jennsmas with me and to the end of 2021 with me. It has been a wonderful, wonderful year, and you guys are just the best. And I cannot wait to see where 2022 takes us. I will catch you in another video very, very, very soon, and stay kind and keep on reading.